graphing sine and cosine. It's going to be pages 31 through 34. And if you have your extra copy of your unit circle out, that's going to help you fill in when we're working on the charts. Okay, so by the end of the lesson, you will be able to use radian measures of a unit circle to graph the sine and cosine functions. All right. So the unit circle they have on here is really hard to read. That's why I said to pull out your extra copy. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fill in the table, and then we'll go to the graphing part of it. So if you could fill in the chart first, that would be great. Of sine. So if you follow the table up above, you should start with a point at 0, 0. I just made each of these lines. So this one's pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, pi over 2, and so on. So this would be pi, where it gets back to 0. Okay, so we're going to go up and over, and then down and under, fluctuating from 0 up to 1. So here's the cosine table. This one's going to start at 1, go to 0, go down to -1, go to 0, and then go back to 1. Okay. All right, so take the points off the table. That'll be your cosine graph. Sine graph, so it's just going to put in one spot all the information that you need to know about the sine and cosine. So rough sketch of the sine graph starts at 0, 0 and goes on. Cosine starts at 0, 1. Okay, so both of them have a domain of negative to positive infinity. Both of them have a range going from -1 to 1, which means they both have an amplitude of 1. They both have a period of 2 pi. They both have a midline of 0. And down at the bottom is where you'll see slightly different information, okay? So on the sine graph, your x-intercepts are going to be at 0, 0, pi 0, and 2 pi 0, whereas on the cosine, your x-intercepts are going to be at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. And then your y-intercepts are at 0, 0 and at 0, 1. And down at the bottom it says, what are the important points to plot when graphing sine and cosine? And why? So it's important to graph the points for 0, obviously, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. That's going to be the main points within one cycle. As Daniel sketched the graphs of y equals sine theta and y equals cosine theta below, unfortunately, he forgot to label the graphs, and now he cannot remember which graph goes with which equation. Explain how Daniel can tell which graph is sine of theta and which graph is the cosine of theta. I used highlighters. If you have highlighters and you want to do the same thing I did, you can. So the one that has a y-intercept of 0, 0, that's your sine theta. And the one that has a y-intercept of 0, 1, that's going to be your cosine of theta. And then the last thing here is just a learning log. Basically, one of your teammates missed this lesson. How would you describe graphing the sine function and the cosine function to your teammate? Be sure to be as detailed as possible. I'm just asking you to give me at least 3 sentences. And then